Hi everybody, it's Mark Mazzatenta. Thanks for joining me. I'm here to help strengthen your guitar skills. And this week's video is a little bit different. It's not a how-to in terms of guitar playing, but I'm going to answer the question today of why are some pieces of music so long? And let me make the distinction first. I'm not talking about some jam band that's stretching some kind of improv over some groove, into a 30-minute song. I'm talking about masterpieces of composition here that just happen to be on the long side. But let me start with a quote from the movie Amadeus. This movie came out in 1984. And it's about Mozart. So Mozart has just finished conducting one of his operas, and the emperor comes on stage afterwards to congratulate him. And they're talking about the piece. And the emperor says, occasionally it seems to have too many notes. And Mozart says, there are just as many notes as I required, neither more nor less. And the emperor says, just cut a few and it'll be perfect. Mozart says, which few do you have in mind, Majesty? So I've heard a lot of people questioning why songs are so long, and they follow up with comments like, well, I can't listen to a 20-minute song, and it doesn't sound like it's going anywhere, and I can't focus my attention on it. Comments like that really say more about the listener than the music. And I'm not being mean. I just want to acknowledge that people that play instruments or sing or are professional musicians like I am, we're hearing more in the music than like the average listener. That's all. The other response I give to comments like that is that, well, think about movies. Some movies are an hour and 40 minutes, but others are 3 hours. So if you like watching the first Lord of the Rings movie, that's almost 3 hours long. Gone with the Wind is 3 hours and 42 minutes. And people seem to follow those stories just fine and love experiencing that. So it's the same with music. I think of it as very similar to construction of a movie. So before we get to that, I want to give another quote here by guitarist Pat Metheny. This is his interview from the Way Up DVD from 2005, and he says, there's a certain story we can tell with the energy we use to address complexity. We have a curiosity about how many angles we can look at this from. And then he's mentioning like the lifestyle of 2005. There's a sense that everything has to get shorter and shorter and faster. Our reaction to that is that the kinds of things we found that have value to us take a really long time. They have to do with how things develop over time, showing little things, and then revealing more about them as time goes on. So musical ideas can become characters. They're called motifs or themes. And so just like in a movie where characters are presented, right? They're introduced, you become familiar with them, they go through personal growth, they might go through conflicts, adventures, travel. Well, musical ideas can do the same thing. They can become familiar, they can go through transformations, they can develop, they can take you somewhere. You can have tension that builds up and then resolutions. Okay? And you can't tell a musical story like that in a 2-minute pop song. Now, I've talked about this idea of developing motives in an earlier video of mine called Motivic Development. So you might watch that one too. Well, I'm going to demonstrate how you can make a musical idea into some kind of character with 3 examples. Okay, so the 3 examples are Michael Romeo is an awesome guitar player of the band Symphony X, and he did a solo project called War of the Worlds, Michael Romeo, from 2018. It's 53 minutes long. Now it's divided into 10 tracks, so they are like songs. There's vocals on most of them. But there's some thematic ideas that unite those 10 tracks, and you hear them coming back throughout the whole 53 minutes. And the tracks can play right one into the next. And then another example is from the Pat Metheny group, and here's guitarist Pat Metheny. From the album called The Way Up, Pat Metheny group, from 2005, which is 68 minutes long. Okay, it's divided up into 4 tracks, but mainly just for navigating, because they perform the piece 1 track into the next. Once again, you hear musical ideas that unite that entire piece. And then the last example is a classical example, Gustav Mahler. Okay, and we're going to take a look at his 9th Symphony from 1909. That symphony lasts for 1 hour and 25 minutes. Okay, I'm going to take a look at just the last movement, the 4th movement, which in itself is 27 minutes long. So let's listen to some of these musical ideas from these examples. The first example is from War of the Worlds, and it begins like this. So that's going to become an important idea. Later on, in track 3, it sounds like this now. So the shape is somewhat the same, but the notes have changed, and at the end, instead of descending, it ascends. And the whole feel of the rhythm is different. Now it's this. Which is really different from the first time where it's dreamy and mysterious, and now it's like threatening and more aggressive. Another theme, which runs through that whole piece, kind of has a Star Wars-ish sound to it. All right. In track 6, you hear it like this. Kind of has a more happier, victorious kind of sound to it. Okay, the Pat Metheny group, The Way Up. The examples that I'm going to play I'm going to mention page numbers from the complete score here. So it starts with a 3-note. That's one of the main ideas early on in the piece. So it's 3 notes, and they're descending. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So the very first statement from Pat's guitar is this. Okay, so he's even ornamented those 3 notes with some pickup notes. And And not only that, but right afterwards, that's answered by another guitar doing that. So you get this overlap. And then another guitar comes in, taking those three melodic notes and making them into a chord. Okay, so I would say that's getting the most money for your little idea, for sure. And then he expands that. Okay, so if you listen carefully, that's still in there, but he's ornamenting it. Then on page 167, so this is quite a ways from the beginning, there's a softer, slower harmonica melody. There it is. There's those three notes, except instead of this shape, which is all descending, he ascends. All right, then on page 190, there's another change of mood, and little conversations start happening now between Pat's guitar and another instrument. Okay, so right away, this three-note figure has been expanded into much longer, and then he follows it up with another one. Keeps going. This is back and forth. Now, on page 45, where you hear the first real melody here, this is the beginning of the second track, which is called Part 1. You get another idea. Again, three notes. The intervals are different. They're ascending. And there's a whole step here at the end of that. And it's going to be used a lot for the rest of the piece. And they take that whole step, and on page 186, which is the beginning of the last track, which is called Part 3, they use that as the basis of the whole bass line of that movement. So once again, you see an idea, and they're not even taking the three notes, they're taking a fragment of that idea and making it the main compositional device of that movement. Okay, and then towards the end of the whole piece, on page 216, now we've got the two guitars, one is Pat's, another is a slide guitar, I think. And they're trading back and forth as fast as you can imagine. Three notes, both motives. So that motive and are now going back and forth like this. Back and forth. So you could imagine maybe in a movie some kind of chase or fight or conversation of a lot of revealing, information that you've been waiting for. And not only that, you get those ideas harmonized with chord. So it's really dense information. So I'll try to play what the harmonies is for that big build-up spot. Okay, the chords are just rapid fire. Now that played a lot faster, and there's 7 people in that band, so I'm trying to do everything. That's a great buildup of energy and feeling, and music can do that, even without words. Okay, the last example is the Mahler Symphony No. 9. Remember, it's an hour and 25 minutes. The last movement, the 4th movement, is called Adagio, and it starts with this figure. Okay, so it's that windy figure that's going to become super important in that whole movement. Okay, so let's analyze that. It's a note, 3 notes that descend, ba, 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 and then one that ascends, like this. That continues, descends down into the main theme, which is in D flat major. Okay, so I'm going to play the theme, but underneath that theme, you're going to hear that windy motive woven in different spots at different pitch levels, at different speeds. And that's why I call these pieces, like, the craftsmanship is just so amazing. So here it is. Introduces this. And slowly, here's the theme. And it goes on. But did you count how many times you heard that little figure? There it is again, and then it's in the melody. And then it's in the bass. And it's in the middle part. And then here it is again, towards the end of that phrase, in the bass. Some of them are overlapped, like that, and this one. Pretty cool. And at the end, you hear long-held soft violin notes that are resolved on our D-flat chord. And the last 4 notes of the symphony are these. Okay, that gives me chills every time I hear it. Because for 27 minutes, you've been hearing the 3 notes descending and then rising. And at the end, he flips that. So it's a mirror image. Now you have 3 notes ascending and then the last one descending. And it's just such a great surprise. And in my mind, I think about it as kind of a, some kind of victory where you've changed right at the end. Or maybe you think of it as like this peaceful dying away. In any event, that hour and 25-minute symphony ends with that motivic transformation there, which is a great surprise. I just love listening to that. So I hope you'll listen to those pieces of music and not be afraid to listen to longer pieces of music. It's worth the time. It's worth it because it's fun to just get caught up in the worlds that the music creates. So please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you at the next video.